also considered a subcontinent of Americas. It includes 12 independent countries: Argentina, Bolivia, Brazil, Chile, Colombia, Ecuador, Guyana, Paraguay, Peru, Suriname, Uruguay, and Venezuela, and lately French Guiana, which is an overseas region of France. South America has an area of 17,840,000 square kilometers with an approximately total population of 385 million people, and is considered fourth in the area after Asia, Africa, and North America. The population of the main important countries are Brazil with 192 million, Colombia 45 million, Argentina 40 million. Then we can see that Brazil is the most populous country with more than 50%, following by Colombia with 12% and Argentina with 10% of the South American population. Spanish and Portuguese are the predominant language of South America. Portuguese is spoken only in Brazil, the most populous country in the region. Spanish is the official language in the rest of the continent. French is the official language only in French Guiana. In Falkland Island, South Georgia, and South Sandwich Island, English is the official language. And the official language in Suriname is Dutch. We have two main blocks. The big one is named Mercosur, and is a regional trade agreement among Argentina, Brazil, Paraguay, and Uruguay, founded in 1991 by the Treaty of Asunción, which was later amended and updated by the 1994 Treaty of Ouro Preto. Its purpose is to promote free trade and fluid movement of goods, people, and currency. Bolivia, Chile, Ecuador, and Peru currently have associated members status, and Venezuela signed a membership agreement in 2006. The other block is the Andean Community, and it's a bloc formed by Bolivia, Colombia, Ecuador, and Peru. The trade bloc was called the Andean Pact until 1996 and came into existence with the signing of Cartagena Agreement in 1969. Its headquarters is located in Lima, Peru. The Andean community has 98 million inhabitants living in an area of 4,700,000 square kilometers, and the gross domestic product amounted in 745 billion in 2005, including Venezuela that was member at that time. The economy of the main South American countries. The gross domestic product, the big one is Brazil with $2,172 million income per year, followed by Argentina with 596 million, then Colombia 400 million, and Venezuela with 344 million. But if we consider the gross domestic product per capita, the first country of the region is Argentina with $17,000 per capita, followed by Peru with $16,000 per capita, then Venezuela and Brazil. South America relies heavily on the exporting since 1990s and has experienced great economic development with Venezuela, Colombia, Argentina, Uruguay, and Peru, growing their economies by over 8% per annum. Brazil's economy, on the other hand, is expected to grow by a more sluggish pace in the near future. During the last 2 decades, South American countries have experienced significant economic growth. However, because of histories of high inflation, in nearly South American countries, interest rates remain high and investment remains low. Interest rates are usually twice that of the United States rate. The exception is Chile, which has been implementing free market economic policies since establishing military dictatorship in 1973. On exchange rates, Brazil leads the way in total amount of export of $200 billion, followed by Argentina with $84 million, and in third place, Chile with $71 billion. The agriculture of South America, the main products includes coffee, soybeans, wheat, rice, corn, sugarcane, citrus, beef, poultry, and bananas. Then I will show you some important aspects of the main South American countries. Started by Colombia, is the main commercial partner of Canada. In the last year, consumption of beans have been migrating to lentils, and is the largest importer of lentils in South America. As we can see in this chart, we have the import from Canada in the last 4 years, and then we can conclude that Colombia imports 28,000 metric tons of dry peas per annum, chickpeas 8,400 metric tons per year, lentils with 58,000 metric tons, and beans, considering local production plus importation, 105,000 metric tons. Then Venezuela. For the year 2002, there was a major intervention from the government. La Casa and PDVSA, they are two main government companies that take the importation in Venezuela in the last year. And obviously less participation on the private sector. Basically, it's not a producer of any pulses, and they have a big culture of beans consumption, especially black beans. Then again, we can see the pulses import from Canada, is other important partner of Canada in South America. And the average consumption per year, dry peas, 16,120 metric tons, chickpeas only 1,500, lentils 24,566, and beans 82,623, mainly blacks, and they import basically from China and from Argentina. Then Peru is the largest exporter of bean in the Andean community bloc, but is heavily dependent on the weather condition to have harvest. We have a chart. We can see that the import of dry peas, the average per year is around 21,000 metric tons. Dry peas, 11,500, and chickpeas is really not representative, only 100 metric tons. On the other hand, as I explained before, is one of the main exporter of the Indian community. Their own consumption is big. We can consider in 200,000 metric tons. And the exportation in 2008 was 35,000 metric tons, 2009, 33,000, 2010, 35,000, and 2011, 36,000. The main variety that the Peruvian country export is the black eyed beans, followed by the large lima beans. Then Chile, in the past year, was an important exporter of pulses like lentils and beans. But due to the highland cost, there was a replacement by vineyards and fruits production. Just for our guidance, 1 hectare in the central region of the country costs $20,000. So it's impossible to, or it's not profitable to grow any pulses. The import from Chile in the last years are, obviously it's a few countries, only 12 million people. The average importation of lentils are around 15,000 metric tons per year, dry peas 6,000 metric tons per year, and chickpeas 1,900 metric tons per year. Then Argentina is not a pulses consumer country, mainly export all its production. It could be considered the main Canadian competitor in Latin America for its neighborhood countries, mainly Mercosur participants, and is main exporter of pulses of South America. In this graphic, we have the export of beans, mainly is composed by alluvia beans. Our main markets are Algeria, Spain, France, Italy, and Brazil. Then we have black kidney beans. The production in the last 3 years increased. Our main destination is Brazil. Just for our guidance, this year Brazil imported from Argentina only 100,000 metric tons. Then followed by cranberry beans with an average of exportation of 15,000 metric tons per year, and late red beans that includes dark red and light red kidney beans. So, as a So, as a conclusion, Argentina during the year 2009 export 263,000 of beans, 24,000 of dry peas, 17,000 of chickpeas. Sorry, but the another graphic cannot appear. Okay. In 2010, Argentinian exports of beans was 315,000 metric tons. Exportation of dry peas, 56,000 metric tons. We need to consider human consumption and animal feed. And for chickpeas was 15,000 metric tons, the exports from Argentina. And last year, 2011, we exported 345,000 metric tons of beans, 83,000 of dry peas, and 56,000 of chickpeas. Chickpeas production last year increased, I consider, 3 times regarding 2009. We can consider a total harvest estimation in about 90,000 metric tons. So we can see that Argentina started to produce decent quantities of chickpeas, and probably today is more production than Canada. It's a big jump and a big headache for the Canadian colleagues. Then and lately, Brazil is the third largest population of Latin America with 192 million people, as I told before. It's representing more than 50% of South America continent or subcontinent. It's the second largest bean producer and consumer. In terms of producer, India is the first and Brazil is the second. But in terms of consumption per capita, we are the largest consumer of beans, with about between 3.5 million to 3.8 million. Our main varieties are Carioca, black beans, Shallow, and Gopa, they are yellow beans, and Rayado, that is the light speckled kidney beans. And is the third largest world consumer per capita of beans. So in this chart, we have the pulse import from Brazil in the last years. We can see that the average importation of dry peas reached 40,000 metric tons in the last 4 years. Chickpeas, around 6,000 metric tons per year. Lentils, 14,000 metric tons per year. And beans, 185,000 metric tons per year. So we can conclude that we are consumers of beans in terms of pulses. Dry peas, chickpeas, and lentils are not relevant when we compare it with our beans consumption. On the other hand, we have the export of beans is the only pulse that Brazil export. We name it cowpea, and everybody knows by brown white beans. In 2008, we only export 1,000 metric tons. 2009 was 22,000. Mainly markets for India and Egypt, some to Europe. 2010, practically there are no sales, only 1,500 metric tons. And last year, 19,000 metric tons, mainly, or more important, Egypt than India. Okay? So, thank you very much. Have a nice day.
Good morning to all. Respected dignitaries, officials, and distinguished guests. To start with, I introduce myself, Shyam Narsaria from RV International, Myanmar, here today to present Pulses Myanmar Crop and Export Outlook. Before I move further, I just wanted to know from you, how many of you know Myanmar? Can you please raise the hand? Quite a few people know Myanmar. Thank you for your interest. For those who don't know Myanmar, here I am. Just a glimpse of Myanmar on the screen. The land area, capital, population, language, currency, principal exports that includes rice, pulses and beans, marine products, minerals, timbers, gems, and natural gas. The major trading partners for Myanmar are India, Singapore, Thailand, China, Hong Kong, Malaysia, Japan, and Indonesia. The main exports of beans and pulses from Myanmar includes black mapte, tuhol, green mung bean, chickpeas, black eye bean, red kidney bean, butter beans, and lublub beans. One of the major products of beans and pulses Myanmar is black mapte. For black mapte, there are two main qualities exported, FAQ, that is fair average quality, and SQ, special quality, that is 3.25 millimeter and above. The crop harvest time for black mapte is the month of February and March, and the average crop size of black mapte is around 5 to 6 lakhs metric ton. The major markets for black mapte are India, Pakistan, UAE, Malaysia, Japan, and Sri Lanka. There has been a consistent export of black mapte of around 5 lakhs metric ton for the last 5 years. But in the year 2009 and 2011, we see the export around 6 lakh metric ton because of the increased demand from the overseas market. As for the price of black mapte FAQ for the last year, the beginning of the year show an average price of 851 during the month of January. It rise to 905 level in the month of March. Then it show a downtrend and a little bit stabilizing at around 740 to 760 level from the month of June to September. Thereon, it further show a downtrend, and the end of the year, the price was around 567 FOB levels. If we look at the major black mapte growing area in Myanmar, we can see in the map, the major area is the southern part of Myanmar, with a small crop of around 15,000 metric ton comes in the central part of Myanmar, that is in the month of January. Talking about another important crop from Myanmar is turhol. For turhol, there are various qualities and varieties available in Myanmar. The various varieties are on the basis of color, size, and the region it is grown. The majorly exported varieties are lemon, Linke Shefla, Malai Shefla, Shebu, red and white, bold, medium, small, and Zagai. The crop harvest time is December, January, and February, and the average crop size for turhol is around 2.5 to 3 lakhs metric ton. And the main market for turhol is India. If we look at the bar graph here, we can see a lot of variation in the export of turhol for the past 5 years. In the year 2007, the export was around 2,28 metric thousand ton. It rose to 2,96,000 in 2008, and in 2009 it jumped to 4,12,000 metric ton. But again in the year 2010, the export was only 1,42,000 metric ton. The main reason behind is the less demand from the Indian market at the increased price level. Next is 2011, where the export was 2,62,000 metric ton, which is almost at par with the average export of turhol, which is 2,68 metric thousand ton. Like Black Monday FAQ, the price of tool hole has also shown a similar trend. That is higher in the beginning of the year. In the month of January, the average FOB price was around 645 level. It rose to 862 level in the month of April. Thereon, it showed a continuous downward trend to and closes to around 554 FOB level in the month of December. The central part of Myanmar is the main tool hole growing area. Yet another important crop from Myanmar is the green mung beans. The various qualities of green mung beans exported are Pedi Shewa, Anya Shewa, Pakhoku, Tangu Shewa, and the crop harvest time for Pedi Shewa is the month of January and February. For Anya Shewa is from May to October, and for Pakhoku is September, October. For Tangu Shewa is October and November. The crop size of green mung bean is around 3.5 lakhs metric ton, and the major markets for green mung bean are India, China, Vietnam, Malaysia, Japan, Thailand, Indonesia, Pakistan, and UAE. For 2007, 8, and 9, the average export of green mung beans from Myanmar was around 3 lakhs metric ton. But in the year 2010 and 11, the export fell to around 2.1 lakh level. The main reason is less demand from the overseas market. As a result, most of the green mung beans were exported to the neighboring countries through the land route. That is mainly China. The price trend for green mung bean for the last year show a similar trend what black mapte and turhol has shown. In the beginning of the year, the price was around 940 level, and in the month of April, the price jumped to 1419 level, but because of the high price level, it did not sustain and show a continuous downtrend to around 794 level in the month of December. The southern part of Myanmar, as we can see here, is the main green mung bean Pedi Shewa growing area. Here around 1,50,000 metric ton of green mung bean Pedi Shewa, which is the premium quality, comes. We move a bit upward is the green mung bean Anya area, where the crop comes from May to October. Moving further upward is the green mung bean Pakhoku area, which is unpolished and small size. Moving to the down in the middle is the Tangu Shewa area, which is almost like Pedi Shewa quality. Now talking about another 4 important crops from Myanmar, namely chickpeas, black eye beans, red kidney beans, and butter beans. We can see a lot of variation in the export of these items based on the international demand on year-to-year basis. For example, if we look at the figure of export of chickpeas for the last 5 years, we can see the variation clearly. In 2007, it was 85,000 metric ton. In 2008, it was 1,18,000 metric ton. It come down to 48,000 level in 2009, and it come down to 8,000 level in the year 2010. But again in the year 2011, it went to 69,000 metric ton. We can see the variation very clearly from the graph. The major exports of beans and pulses from Myanmar is to India. Almost 66% of the export for beans and pulses from Myanmar comes to India. Next is Singapore, which accounts to 11%. But I would like to add here that out of these 11%, most of the cargo are re-exported to other countries like India, Pakistan, and UAE. Next comes is China with 6%, mostly green mung bean. There is an average export of 11 lakh 88 metric thousand ton of beans and pulses from Myanmar for the past 7 years. But from the year 2005 to 2009, we noticed the export is growing consistently quantity-wise. In the year 2005, the export was 9,36,000 metric ton. But in the year 2009, the export jumped to 14,65,000 ton. We can see the growing export from Myanmar from this graph. But in the year 2010, the figure was 9,18,000. That is because of the reason in the end of the year 2009 and in the beginning of the year 2010, the price levels were very high and the India market and the other overseas market did not show much interest in the higher price levels. But again in the year 2011, we can see the export is around 12 lakh metric ton, which is almost at par with the average export of beans and pulses from Myanmar. The export value of beans and pulses from Myanmar is growing on consistent basis. If we see the graph here, it is very clear. In the year 2005, the total value of export was $304 million. But if we look at 2011, it is over $1 billion. Now, focusing to the year 2012. For 2012, we can expect black mapte production to be around 5 lakh metric ton, turhole 2,40,000 metric ton, green mung bean 3.5 lakh metric ton, chickpeas a little increase, almost 25% increase than the last year is 1,25,000 metric ton, black gai bean same than the last year around 45,000 metric ton, and red kidney bean around 20% short to be around 15,000 metric ton. The export value of beans and pulses from Myanmar is rising on consistent basis from the past 7 years, as we have seen in the previous chart. Three main reasons for this. Firstly, increase in the export quantity of beans and pulses from Myanmar. As we have seen from the year 2005 to 2009, the export jumped from 9 lakh metric ton to 14,65,000 metric ton. The second reason is rise in the price of beans and pulses in the global market over the past few years. The third main and the very important reason is increase in the export of processed pulses from Myanmar. That adds to almost 30 to 40% of the value. As I have said earlier, the average export of beans and pulses from Myanmar is 11,88,000 metric ton for the past 7 years. For the year 2012, we expect the export to be almost at par with the average to around 12 lakhs metric ton. Herewith, I conclude my presentation. Being sure to have given the sufficient required data and analysis based on the market values and estimates. A sincere thanks to the President, Mr. Praveen Dongre, and the Vice President, Mr. Bimal Kothari, for giving me the deserving opportunity to present Pulses Myanmar. It has been a wonderful experience and a prestigious platform indeed for each one of us to exchange our business prospects. I presented the figure of black mapte from Myanmar. Now, looking for the price trend of black mapte in India as a whole, the consumption of black mapte in India is estimated to be around 16 lakh metric ton, that is 1.6 million metric ton. The Indian production is estimated around 1.1 million ton. So there is a shortage of around 5 lakhs metric ton for the black mapte, but that is compensated by the Myanmar production, which I said is around 5 to 6 lakh metric ton. For the year 2012, I expect the black mapte, since it is at par with the consumption, is around 1.6 lakh metric ton. 1.1 is the India crop, 5 lakh to 6 lakhs around the Myanmar crop. The price will remain stable, and the bottom price level for black mapte FAQ will be around 575 level, and the higher level is around 675 level for the CNF India port. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Praveen Dongre. Very good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Mrs. Ganga Murthy, Principal Advisor to Government of India, Ministry of Consumer Affairs, Mr. Praveen Dongre and his very excellent team of organizers, and all the other distinguished participants. I am very happy to be in your midst this morning and would like to congratulate at first the organizers for organizing such an important conclave, and that too so successfully. And it's my pleasure to share my thoughts on futures trading in commodities in India with you today. Some of you might know that futures trading in commodities in India dates back to 1875, when Bombay Cotton Trade Association was set up to trade in cotton contracts. There was a thriving futures market in commodities in India till the Second World War, when many of this trading was banned due to scarcity conditions. It remained in that state till the year 2003, when government made a new policy of allowing futures trade in commodities, in all commodities. And on the institutional front, an initiative was taken to operationalize national commodity exchanges with online trading platforms and with best trading, clearing and settlement practices, as well as demutualized organized structure, which is the international trend. And it is a matter of great satisfaction that the national commodity exchanges have been doing extremely well, and they have seized the opportunities that was given to them by the liberalized environment. The commodity futures market has grown exponentially in the last 8 years. The value of trade was 66,000 crore rupees in 2003, which is equivalent to 13 billion US dollars. Now it is over 3 trillion US dollars, and it may touch almost 3.5 this year. The number of clients have increased to over 1.4 million, and number of members of the exchanges, other intermediaries have also multiplied considerably in the last few years. We know that pulses is a very important part of Indian diet. You have you know more about that. And there is a gap of 2 to 3 million tons in our requirement here, which is imported. The National Agriculture Policy of 2000 had envisaged that policymakers will need to provide